The Pixel 10 Pro XL has officially landed, and it's ready to go head-to-head with some of the biggest hitters in the game. The Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra, the OnePlus 13, and the Nothing Phone 3. But which one of these powerful devices will give you the best user experience? We'll take a deep dive into the design, display, performance, cameras, and battery to find out. Hey, I'm Olive, your host here at Versus.com. Alright, there's no question the Nothing Phone 3 really stands out from the crowd with that unique rear design. The Galaxy also has its own thing going on with its boxy shape, and the OnePlus feels different because of the material on the back. But those two do it in a more subtle way. The Pixel, on the other hand, has a more traditional design overall. As for materials, the Pixel, OnePlus, and the Nothing Phone all rock an aluminium frame. The Galaxy takes it up a notch with a titanium frame. For the backplate, we've got Corning Gorilla Glass Victus 2 on both the Pixel and the Galaxy, Eco Leather on our OnePlus, and an unspecified kind of glass on the Nothing. Each of these phones has a little something special. The Pixel's new standout feature is Pixel Snap, which is basically Google's take on MagSafe, meaning it's compatible with a whole bunch of magnetic accessories and Qi 2 chargers. The Galaxy, of course, comes with its signature S Pen, which smells like burnt plastic. Don't ask how we know that. The OnePlus still has that alert slider, which works just like the now discontinued ring switch on the iPhone. And the Nothing has its new glyph interface, which is way more interactive than the old glyph lights, but it might not be for everyone. For weight, the Pixel is the heaviest at 231 grams, the Galaxy and the Nothing Phone are tied at 219 grams, and the OnePlus is the lightest of the group at just 212 grams. For durability, all four of these phones have an IP68 rating for dust and water protection, so they can handle being submerged in up to 1.5 meters of water for 30 minutes. The OnePlus, however, goes one step further with an IP69 certification, which means it can even resist high-pressure water jets in case you wanna, put it in the dishwasher for some reason. So as always, let's check in with the team and see who likes which design best.
Pixel.
The Pixel.
The Pixel.
The Pixel.
The Pixel. What about you?
I think I'm also gonna have to go for the Pixel. Now let's check out these displays. When it comes to the displays, the Pixel is rocking a 6.8-inch LTPO OLED screen, the Galaxy packs a 6.9-inch LTPO AMOLED display, the OnePlus comes in with a curved 6.82-inch LTPO AMOLED panel, and the Nothing Phone has a 6.67-inch OLED display. All of them support 120Hz and variable refresh rates, but the Nothing Phone screen can't drop all the way down to a single hertz. We threw them under simulated sunlight at over 100,000 lux and measured how bright the screen typically gets using a full white screen. The Pixel hit an incredible 2,444 nits, the Galaxy got to 1,594 nits, the OnePlus only managed 1,064 nits, and the Nothing Phone came in at 1,729 nits. That makes the Pixel the absolute best for outdoor use. For security, all of these phones use under-display ultrasonic fingerprint scanners, except for the Nothing Phone, which has an optical fingerprint scanner. Optical scanners aren't always super reliable, especially if you have a screen protector on. Now, for even more info on screen specs, including our measured peak brightness, feel free to pause the video right here. So we've got to say we prefer either the Pixel screen, since it is sharp enough and gets unbelievably bright, or the Galaxy screen, thanks to that awesome anti-reflective coating. But the screen isn't everything, so let's check out the speakers on these phones. All of these phones come equipped with stereo speakers for an immersive audio experience, but which one actually sounds the best? Give it a listen.
I'll shut it down like a trunk getting close, and they ain't on this level, but you really not close. Even in the summer, told them that it's so froze. Not talking about bass when I say I get low. I've been trying to get more, now I'm stacking my accounts. It's all going stupid, yeah, the numbers in the mouse. Heard them going quiet, so I turn it up loud. And they saying they ain't feel it, but they better feel it now.
For our ears, both the Pixel and the Galaxy have really punchy speakers, but surprisingly, the Pixel has a little bit more bass, and we're guessing that's because of its new top speaker. By the way, we have noticed that a lot of you watching our videos aren't actually subscribed yet, so if you enjoy these videos, please do us a huge favor and tap that subscribe button right there. Oh, and we're sure you're interested in at least one of these phones, so we have put links to all of them in the description below for you. Now, let's move move on to cameras. For the main cameras, we've got 50 megapixel sensors on the Pixel, OnePlus, and Nothing phone, while the Galaxy is rocking a massive 200 megapixel sensor. In good lighting, the OnePlus and Nothing produce the most contrast-rich photos. Sharpness is a bit high on the Pixel, while the Galaxy looks the most natural. Color-wise, though, all four are on point. In indoor or backlit situations, the Pixel captures what the scene actually looks like in real life. The Galaxy blows out some of the highlights, while the OnePlus and Nothing crank the HDR all the way up to 11. Moving on to ultra-wide cameras, the Pixel is packing a 48 megapixel shooter, while the other three all have 50 megapixel sensors. In this shot, once again, the Pixel and the Galaxy look the most true to life. The Pixel in particular handles highlights the best. The OnePlus is a bit too bright and contrasty, and the Nothing phone has some pretty noticeable chromatic aberration around the edges of the photo. Indoors, once more, the Pixel and the Galaxy both deliver more natural looking shots. The Pixel also has the best lens distortion correction. The Galaxy, as always, it's still changing the color of our curtains from gray to purple. Now for portrait shots with the main lens, the OnePlus is definitely bringing the best edge detection, followed closely by the Galaxy and the Nothing. The Pixel, however, well, even with some new tweaks, it is still looking rough. Using the telephoto lenses, both the OnePlus and Nothing have absolutely incredible edge detection here, although the contrast can be a bit high. The Pixel, though, still can't even use its telephoto lens for portrait mode. Now, let's talk video. The Pixel and the Nothing can both record at up to 4K 60 FPS, while the Galaxy and the OnePlus can film at 8K 30 FPS, but for our comparisons, every single one of our videos is captured at 4K 30 FPS. Here you can see that the Galaxy and Nothing are definitely the darkest of the bunch, but they are also the closest to what you'd actually see in real life. The Pixel and the OnePlus, on the other hand, raise the brightness a little too much, making their videos look artificial. For portrait video maximum resolution, both the Pixel and the OnePlus can film at 1080p 30 FPS. The Galaxy, on the other hand, can do 4K 30 FPS, and the Nothing has nothing. Interestingly, the Pixel actually does the best at detecting depth, but has tons of noise in the shadows. The OnePlus adds a lot of blur, but the edge detection is rough, while the Galaxy adds a very weak level of background blur altogether. Switching over to ultra-wide video, all of these phones can record at a maximum of 4K 60 FPS, except for the Galaxy, which can also shoot 8K 30 FPS with this lens. This time, only the Galaxy delivers a video that actually looks authentic. The Pixel and the OnePlus are once again raising the brightness way too much, and the Nothing phone has a surprising amount of noise in the shadows, even though the lighting is good. Turning these phones around, we've got a 12 megapixel on the Galaxy, a 32 megapixel on the OnePlus, a 42 megapixel on the Pixel, and a 50 megapixel on the Nothing phone. At first glance, you can see the Pixel has the widest field of view, so you can fit all your imaginary friends. It also has the most accurate colors, which you can see when you compare the blue tone of my jacket to the other phones. In low light, the Pixel captures the most shadow detail, but it is missing that dim vibe that all the other phones have. The Galaxy has the best colors and contrast, but the OnePlus and Nothing control the highlights the best. For front camera video, all of these phones can shoot at up to 4K 60 FPS. The OnePlus and Nothing both lack autofocus here, which is why I look blurry when I stand far from the camera. Here, the Pixel has some serious shadow lifting going on, making its video look super processed. On the other hand, the Galaxy's video is just spot on. So now let's check out the audio from all of these devices. We'll start off with the Nothing phone over here. What do you guys think? How's the audio? How do I sound? Moving on, we have the OnePlus. Is it any better than the Nothing phone? I'm in a relatively busy area, so can you hear me well? And then we have the Galaxy. How's the Galaxy sounding? How's that noise reduction? And finally, we've got the latest and greatest Pixel 10 Pro XL. Is it any better than the rest? Have there been any improvements? What do you guys think? As always, let's discuss it. Honestly, there's really no doubt that the Pixel has the best background noise reduction. My voice sounds super clear, even if it is a little muffled, but we think that's a pretty good trade-off. Now, for zoom, the Pixel comes with a 48 megapixel periscope telephoto lens with 5x optical zoom. The Galaxy packs 2 zoom lenses, a 10 megapixel telephoto with 3x optical zoom, and a 50 megapixel periscope telephoto with 5x optical zoom. And both the OnePlus and the Nothing phone have 50 megapixel megapixel periscope telephoto lenses with 3 times optical zoom. At 3 times zoom distances, the Pixel is using digital zoom while the others are at optical levels. Even though all the photos are good, both the OnePlus and Nothing look a bit sharper. But at 5 times zoom, the tables turn. The OnePlus and Nothing are using digital zoom while the Pixel and the Galaxy are using their optical lenses. And we have to say the Galaxy looks the clearest at this level. Once you hit 20 times zoom, the quality starts to take a hit on all of them. This is where AI starts to kick in on the OnePlus and Nothing to fill in the missing details. For maximum zoom levels, the Pixel and the Galaxy can both reach 100 times, the OnePlus can go all the way up to 120 times, and the Nothing tops out at 60 times. And out of all of them, the Pixel definitely looks the best, but you have to keep in mind that at this point, you're pretty much looking at an AI-generated photo. Alright, let's switch off the lights and see how these cameras handle low light conditions. With the main cams, the OnePlus and Nothing look pretty good and are actually quite similar. The Pixel isn't bad either, but it is a bit over-sharpened. The Galaxy, on the other hand, it's surprisingly blurry and noisy. With the ultra-wide cameras, the Galaxy shot has the most accurate colors and good control over highlights. But it's also by far the noisiest one here. For portrait mode, the Nothing's shot could be a little warmer, but overall, the edge detection and detail are pretty solid. The OnePlus is also good, but its edge detection completely failed here. However, with the telelenses, we have to say the OnePlus is the one doing the best, as it has a correct white balance and it also captures a good amount of detail. For video with the main camera, we've got to say the Galaxy has the most accurate colors, but the Nothing preserves the most detail even if there's some noise in the footage. In ultra-wide video, the OnePlus has the most accurate colors this time around, and its white balance stays super stable throughout the video. However, the Pixel captures way more detail, so pick your poison. So when it comes to photos, the Pixel is still one of the best choices you can make, but its portrait mode and video are still its biggest weakness. The Galaxy is a pretty compelling all-rounder, especially since it also offers fantastic video quality. As for the OnePlus and Nothing phone, they're not bad by any means, but their photos and videos can be a hit or miss. Alright, now it is time to pop the hood and check the horsepower. The Pixel is rocking Google's new Tensor G5 chip. The Galaxy has the overclocked Snapdragon 8 Elite for Galaxy, the OnePlus has the standard 8 Elite, and the Nothing phone comes with a Snapdragon 8S Gen 4. For RAM, the Galaxy has 12 gigs while the rest are loaded with 16 gigabytes. Here you can also check out the other RAM and storage options available, though availability might vary depending on where you're buying. To really see what these phones can do, we'll throw them into some real-world testing, starting with gaming. We'll run 30-minute sessions with cooldown time in between. First up, Grid Legends. We tweak the settings file to unlock 60 FPS in graphics mode since it is capped at 40 by default. Both the Pixel and the Nothing phone got instantly knocked out. The Tensor chipset just isn't compatible with the game, and the Nothing phone overheated, hitting 60 degrees Celsius before crashing. Between the Galaxy and the OnePlus performed the best, but it was also running hot. Next, we launched Wuthering Waves and cranked the graphics all the way up. Here, all phones hit around the maximum FPS, but interestingly, the Nothing performed the best, only dropping down to 56 FPS. However, both it and the Pixel were the hottest, reaching 50 degrees Celsius. Moving on from gaming, we exported 99 photos in Lightroom. This time, the OnePlus was the absolute fastest, while the Pixel took its sweet time, finishing in more than 10 full minutes. Next, we rendered a 3-minute 4K 30fps video in CapCut. Once again, the OnePlus was the quickest, but this time, the time difference between all the phones wasn't that big. But now let's check out some benchmarks. In Geekbench 6, the OnePlus and the Galaxy were neck and neck in single-core performance, but for multi-core, the Galaxy opened up a massive gap, leaving everyone else in the dust, especially the Pixel. In 3D Mark's Wildlife Extreme stress test, the OnePlus scored the highest in both its peak and lowest loops. To no one's surprise, the Pixel was once again at the bottom of the list here. In Antutu, once more the OnePlus was the best performer, even scoring higher than the Galaxy. And you already know the story, the Pixel was dead last again. And finally, we ran the cross-platform disk check benchmark to measure read and write speeds. As you can see, the Galaxy was the fastest in pretty much every test. On the other hand, the Pixel came in last here too, even though it is now using UFS 4.0 storage, just like the others. All these tests show that the only real competitors in terms of raw performance are the Galaxy and the OnePlus. Unfortunately, the Nothing phone just isn't on the same level as those two, and the Pixel, well, that Tensor G5 is seriously underpowered. Next, it's software. The Pixel comes with the so-called Pixel UI, and it is running Android 16. Meanwhile, the Galaxy is on One UI 7, the OnePlus has Oxygen OS 15, and the Nothing is on Nothing OS 3.5, all three of them still running on Android 15. For software support, both Google and Samsung are offering a massive 7 years of both OS and security patches. The OnePlus promises 4 years of OS updates and 6 years of security patches, while Nothing offers 5 years of OS updates and 7 years of security patches. But let's dive into each phone's main features. Starting with the Pixel, you're getting a fresh look with Material 3 Expressive, which gives you a more fun interface, brand new animations, and haptic feedback that feels amazing. It's also got a whole truckload of new AI stuff like Voice Translate for real-time call translation, Camera Coach to guide you in taking better photos, and Daily Hub that gives you contextual info about your day. This just to mention a few. You also get previously seen features like Magic Editor and Pixel Studio. One UI also got a big makeover with version 7, bringing fresh new icons and animations. Samsung is going all in on the AI race with a bunch of AI-assisted features like Now Brief, which is similar to Google's Daily Hub. And you get a bunch of cool editing tools in your gallery like Generative Edit or Sketch to Image to really pimp out your photos. Oxygen OS 15 offers buttery smooth animations and what is probably the best and easiest multitasking solution you can find on a phone. Plus, you get practical features like Live Alerts, which was most likely inspired by the iPhone's Dynamic Island, which, by the way, was originally inspired by Honor's Magic Capsule. You also get an AI editor in the gallery that makes it super easy to erase objects or reflections, or even enhance some low-res memes. Finally, Nothing OS 3.5 has this minimalist vibe that we absolutely love because it makes it stand out from the sea of iOS copies out there, HyperOS. Here you'll find a bunch of cool widgets and of course the AI-powered Essential Space, where you can store everything you want to remember later. And don't forget the glyph matrix on the back, which can show you notifications, timers, or even some fun glyph toys. And on top of all that, all these phones have access to both Circle to Search and Google Gemini. But enough about software, now let's talk about our final category. Powering the Galaxy, we have a 5,000 mAh battery, the Nothing has a slightly bigger 5,150 mAh, while the Pixel comes with a 5,200 mAh cell, but the OnePlus packs the biggest battery at a massive 6,000 mAh. When it comes to wired charging, the Pixel and the Galaxy both support 45 watts, the Nothing 65 watts, and the OnePlus an impressive 100 watts. For wireless charging, the Galaxy and the Nothing support 15 watts, the Pixel 25 watts, and the OnePlus once again takes the lead at 50 watts. The Galaxy is Qi 2 ready, meaning it supports the standard, but it's missing the on-device magnets to snap onto a charger. The Pixel, on the other hand, is fully compatible, magnets and all. All of these phones support reverse wireless charging except for the Pixel, which sacrificed that feature for Pixel Snap. In our charging test using a 100 watts charger, the Nothing phone was the very first to hit 100%, taking just 58 minutes. Right on its heels was the OnePlus at 59 minutes, reaching 43 watts. Then came the Galaxy at 1 hour and 12 minutes, reaching 42 watts. And last to the party was the Pixel at 1 hour and 26 minutes, reaching only 28 watts. Alright, now for the hardest pill to swallow, the price. For release prices, we've got the Pixel 10 Pro XL coming in at $1,199. The Galaxy S25 Ultra is a bit more at $1,299. Then we have the OnePlus at a cool $999, and the Nothing Phone 3 at just $899. That's a full $400 difference between the Galaxy and the Nothing phone that you could use to buy a certified, refurbished PlayStation 5. But let's be real, the Galaxy, OnePlus, and Nothing have all been out for a while now, and we've already seen some steep discounts on them, so you can certainly snatch any of these three for even less right now. So when we sum up everything we've seen, we have to say that the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra still comes out as the best all-around phone. It's got good cameras, the best video quality of the bunch, and really solid performance. We just wish the battery got a little bump in capacity. And even though it launched at a high price, there are so many deals out there now that it makes it an even better pick. The OnePlus is a great alternative because it has an unbeatable price-to-performance ratio, but unfortunately, the cameras just aren't that great. The Pixel has some fantastic cameras and its software is actually our favorite to use, but the performance is still seriously behind the competition, especially for that price. And when it comes to performance, even the Nothing phone is better and it's way cheaper, though it's not exactly the true flagship that Carl Pei wants us to believe. Once again, you can find links to all 4 of these Android phones in the description below. And before you head out to touch some grass, don't forget to give us a big thumbs up if you enjoyed the video and hit subscribe as we're always testing new devices to help you make the best choice. We'll see you in our next video, and until then, take care.